Welcome to the Victorian Parent Council VPC Parent Podcast Series. VPC is a registered charity organisation dedicated to everyone who support parents in educating their children. I'm Jackie Vandervelde, your host today.
It's my great pleasure to welcome Glenn Melvin. Glenn, welcome.
Thanks very much, Jackie. It's my pleasure to be here.
Glenn, can you maybe introduce yourself? I think that's always a lovely way to start.
I'm a clinical psychologist and associate professor at the School of Psychology at Deakin University, where I do research and teach on the issues around adolescent mental health, including school refusal.
Thanks, Glenn. What's the difference between truancy and school refusal?
Look, Jackie, I'm really glad that you asked that question, because I think it's one that parents and professionals sometimes sort of struggle with. So we think about school refusal as occurring when a child or teen is very emotionally distressed about attending school. This is often in the form of anxiety about being at school, or sometimes in younger kids, anxiety about being away from their parent during the day. So kids who are refusing school stay home with their parents' knowledge, and despite their parents' best efforts to sort of get them out the door and get them along to school. So we can see days, weeks, sometimes months and even years missed by children and teens who are refusing school. Truancy is a different type of attendance issue, and that occurs when it's mostly adolescents don't have permission for being away from school, from their parents or school, but they're missing time. They might spend it out sort of in the community, or even at home when parents are both out working. And here there's an element of deception. They're trying to keep up the appearance of actually being at school. They might lie about their whereabouts during the day, protest that they're at school, or in other ways hide the fact that they weren't in school.
So, and depending on knowledge of what's going on, there can very easily be a misinterpretation of school refusal for being actual truancy, and in fact it's the other way around.
Yes, that's the case. Often things get mixed up, and in rare occasions, sometimes some students will engage in both school refusal and truancy. So that needs to be acknowledged as well.
Glenn, are there stages or ages where school refusal is more prevalent?
That's a good question too, and one that we don't yet have a lot of good data. Certainly school refusal occurs across all stages of schooling, including kindergarten and beyond school into university as well. We don't have a lot of data on age groups, but there is some evidence to show that we see greater levels of school refusal at times of transition. So this is on entry to primary or entry to secondary schooling, or when students might change school within primary or within secondary. So it's those transition times from one school or into school that we see greater risk of school refusal.
So is that a stress factor? Is that what you're saying in those transition periods? Is it the stress, or what? I mean, I'm pulling out stress out of the air, but is that something that's playing into that process that makes it more difficult?
Yeah, look, certainly. For some students, they might have been at a very small primary school, and now they're heading off to a very large secondary school with a couple of thousand kids, and it's a very large campus, and they're worried about making friends. They're perhaps worried about, will they be able to find their classroom? Will they be able to sort out what they need for each class? In the face of that overwhelming anxiety, their method of managing that anxiety is by refusing to go.
I think that's really interesting because I know that schools have certainly been putting a lot more time and energy into those transition programs that they might run or transition processes. But even still, there's an awful lot that perhaps we take for granted that, the young people are picking up on or the skills that they have, and we probably need to be paying a lot more attention to some of the really basic stuff around how do I get myself around, or how do I find where I'm meant to be, and all that type of thing.
Yeah, look, I think a good transition program is a very good investment for schools. So teachers are aware of the needs of individual students, and additional support can be provided as required. But those, as you say, the basics are required of this is how to be at high school, or this is how to manage at primary school in those first weeks and months that are for most students, you're going to see elevated levels of uncertainty or even stress in that time. It's perhaps a normal sort of experience.
Glenn, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you to our guest speaker. We hope you enjoyed today's topic. Want to know more about this podcast and other VPC podcasts? Please visit the VPC website vicparentscouncil.vic.edu.au and leave a review. We would also welcome you to contact us if you would like to be our guest, or if you have a topic around parenting and education. Thank you to Melbourne singer Emma Sidney for her permission to use her soundtrack, Cherish. Until next time, thank you for listening.